How did you do it, Mr. Ivan i.m.klif?
Okay. I started early, actually, from basically playing. I cannot draw the exact line from, I don't know, childhood or early adolescence fascination with music and sound and technology to, I know when it started being a job, about when I was 25 to 30, but it was very soft because I was not educated as an artist. I went to sound engineering school and high school for mathematics and in from the computers, and studied some university, graphic university in Zagreb, but art was always my private first hobby. Then it became a vocation, and so it started in this room, more or less, in this flat. I don't know, I was a kid that likes inventions and whatever. Okay, inventions, let's stop at that. And when I was, I don't know, 5th grade elementary school, that's about 12, I guess, this new wave movement was very strong in Yugoslavia, and that music, that new music, new sound, and new attitude, and new kind of brought also many other things, not only music with it, and design, covers of records were, I guess, because it's actually before videos, so that was, music videos were not a thing at the time. So I guess the record covers with punk design and all new wave design got lots of to do with like those early fascinations, and also alternative music like I don't know, Residents, Amsterdam and the whole Yugoslavian new wave. I actually, my music taste was pretty broad, although I would put myself in like kind of alternative scene, but I also liked pop culture and pop music, so I was at the same time buying Residents and Amsterdam and Neubauten, but also Duran Duran and Madonna records. Not all of pop music, but some I certainly liked. And so basically I first started first public work or like performances were music. I played drums, first in band Sin Albert, which was kind of Sonic Youth, Velvet, Underground, let's say that direction of band, and later at Kuldasak, which was improvised music orchestra from Zagreb, and that influenced me a lot later because of the whole improvisation thing, like learning how to cope with uncertainty on stage and unexpected situations, and basically that you have to do it now, be it good or bad. It's simply happening right now, and you don't have much choice but to just do it. And at the same time, I was doing collages. I was drawing a lot at that time. By the end of, also I did my first, and actually like maybe the only or one of the few mobiles that I liked, Tinguely and that sort of things, and so it was, I think, first grade of high school. It was quite nice, kind of triangle of thin fishing line with some connected in the middle of this triangle to the weight that was, you could turn, and then it would move the glass and metal things that were oscillating on it, but it was made by accident, but it had like nice harmonic movement of this weight when you would move it in it would start in circles, and then it would start modulating, like changing shapes, and the sound was kind of following that action. That's maybe my first work, although I do have some drawings and dimensions, but I hardly have any documentation, maybe one photograph or something, few photographs. But this visuals thing was a hobby. By the end of high school, I stopped drawing, deciding that I felt I'm not good enough at it, and that was a bit frustrating, I guess. So I got more interested in projections. My early influences, except this music world, were Kugla Glumište, which already a theater group from Zagreb or Croatia, which already dissembled. So there were a few individual acts, Indosh being one of them, with whom I work now. And Shish was doing his own thing. And there was a group of artists, Zot, which was connected to Kugla, doing design and comic books, and also gallery works. And they were big influence on me at that time. And then Željko Sredarević and Darko Fritz were doing their imitation of life. Studio Imitation of Life, and they did some spectacular projection, mixed media shows, actually, like projections, music, objects on the, and that, and I wanted to, I think, say, no, yeah, that's it, I think. So I would mark them as early influences to my tastes, and also like direction, and also kind of when you're young and then you kind of still learn about the world, I guess it's also seeing that you can do these things, and it can be well, when you're a kid you don't think about money, but it can be a job. And later, I think that moment, although it didn't happen in my head in words, was seeing Namjoon Paik's exhibition in Düsseldorf in 91, I think, or 92. It was big retrospective. I was lucky to be there. And I guess that was also the moment, seeing these huge video installations and thinking like, so you can do these things and show these things. It's because I'm coming back a little bit. Finishing high school, I kind of wanted to study arts, but because I stopped drawing, and I thought, like, what could I do at the Academy of Fine Arts, because they don't have any new media didn't exist as term, or multimedia at the time, and I knew what I was interested in, but I didn't know there is a name for it, or there wasn't name for it, and for like kind of few years I was actually like doing my things at home without thinking about it too much, which was great. It basically, I ended up with my first set of I forgot, when I was 19, Darko Fritz and Boris Bakal, Stanko Juzbašić and Goran Prebec invited me to collaborate on actually multimedia event Cathedrala, which happened in i.m. Gallery, Expanded Media Gallery in Zagreb. And that was my early entrance, sort of, but also the exit, because at that time I was very young, and I did this kind of mobiles for the exhibition, for the show, and it was certainly a very it was unknown territory for everybody, and it was big. It was kind of, the whole gallery space was big, kind of structures were built inside to change the space with projections on the walls, but it was impossible project almost to do at that time. So I guess I thought that it will really be like we imagined, and it was not so good as we imagined, and I guess that frustrated me at the time a lot. That I don't know how to explain it, but I always think about it as early experience, but not as my first show. Although officially it was in the gallery. I was a member of the team. It was known which works were mine. But anyway, to come back, so that was a little excursion into World of Fine Arts, early excursion. And so while I was doing music and thinking what to do in my life, I was studying, and I was also doing these works for me. So I played with, I made some light objects at that time, kind of low voltage light bulbs within that were, how to explain this? I was working with perforated materials, like perforated metal. So you put two of these perforated metals on the top of each other, you move the bottom metal, the bottom plate, light bulb is below, so you get basically, each hole gives projection of wire within the light bulb. So even with one metal plate, perforated metal plate, you get actually like lots of camera obscura, so lots of overlapping images of the wire. And then when you put the second net over it and one of those two plates moves, basically then moire starts happening within that image. So that was kind of really nice object. That used it later at some exhibitions. And it was I used these disco ball motors, actually not disco ball, but the one to turn chicken in the oven, because they were available and they worked in, you just plug them in electricity and then turn slowly. So it was kind of my easy, I didn't learn any electronics, so I didn't know, I wanted inventions, but I didn't know how to make electrical ones really well. So I learned to play with equipment with things in a way that I do as much as I can and try to make it interesting. And the second object was the car spiral for amortisseur, for damping the wheels. So just a light bulb going in and out with the same motor, same speed. It's basically about 6 times a minute that it goes up and down. And basically you get a moving shadow of a spiral on the floor. So those two, and I started doing these prepared TVs. I was directly inspired by Zot's series of prepared TVs that Zot did. They did look different, but I also liked the fact that they were doing little panoramas with people and like kind of some surrealistic scenes that implied some action, but basically frozen moments of something, and then you imagine the rest. And also Namjoon Paik's work with prepared TVs. So I did the series of, I did one. They all worked with the same principle. I would take the whole box. I would try to use the existing buttons on the TV for changing programs or whatever, so that you could turn things on and off inside. I would put little dolls that I animated with this, again, the same motors. I think I used lots of Kinder Egg because they were doing series of sportsmen at the time, and they were little movable figures of, so a golf player becomes somebody who holds a gun and then brings it towards the spectator and then back. So big TV, little figures. I would put lenses on the front, the big ones, because I actually like the distortions. I guess it comes from, I liked the video effects, but I didn't have any video effects, so the way to get this similar effect was using lenses and then finding the right distance when images start to distort radically. So there were these characters, there were some motors turning things, and then nicely packed little lights that would light up different characters, and also some ambient lights in the back. Again, I used lots of perforated materials to get the depth. And so I did one TV. A friend invited me to do a little performance and that I show my TV. Then Šiš, Željko Zorica, we were already friends at that time. He came to the exhibition, and then a few months later invited me for a show it was Zagreb in Copenhagen in '94. A big exhibition where also a group of six Grupa Šestorice, Martinis, Iveković, I think they all went there and exhibited on it was like bands, theater. It was a big project, and they were exhibiting at some boat, like big proper kind of gallery sort of space, and younger artists were exhibiting in the city in containers. I don't know, it was 20 containers, I think, on the top of each other's, and each container would be one artist. So I brought my TVs and these lights also. I installed it there. I did learn something about audience and how to work with them when you have interactive works and require certain rules is maybe a wrong word, but how to help them to really get the installation and not. I'll come back to that later. And that was kind of start of my career, because people saw it. Then I also exhibited in Zagreb in first exhibition of Day of the Earth exhibition. It's a bit strange. They have the Planet Earth exhibition. It's a bit strange connection, especially at that time, because it was wartime. Things were not happening, it was complicated, and people were eager to do something. So Magdalena Pederin and Snježana Karamarko, with help of Boris Matić, organized with the Society of Microbiotics of Zagreb, which was really strange connection. That organization that deals with health and food is also interested in culture. So Microbiotic Society did the formal part. Magdalena, Snježana, and Boris did the organization of and curating of the exhibition, and I also exhibited there. It was also 94, or maybe Copenhagen was 93. Doesn't matter. So and so at that point, I very quickly became kind of somebody who. I'm not a star. But for me at that time, yeah. I became relevant on art scene, as a new young name with series of really. I'm still happy with those works, and so that was really a sudden change. And I think what was the key to that success was basically that these works were result of whole childhood and good 8 years of doing things at home without any pressure, just working for myself. So when then art career started, I was actually didn't know how it works. I guess many young people, or young artists, especially at that time, were not aware what it means and how the rhythm is. First thing that got me that I was surprised about, that basically everybody, as soon you show the series of really good works that are a result of years of work and thinking and putting it all together, that everybody asks when will you do something new? So I would say that after that first phase I had the struggle to produce new works that were on par with the old ones, because it simply needed time, and I didn't understand that at the time. And basically now, although art is not my, if I may call it pure fine art, so just gallery pieces is not actually my main vocation. I don't live from that. So my rhythm now is that basically I think it's 5 something years to produce some significant new work that I consider kind of, this is something that is worth mentioning. In between, there are performances, experiments, little exhibitions, some better, some worse. With little exhibitions, it mostly means that I didn't give enough time to a certain idea, and then maybe it comes out as not maybe, but it's simply not. It's not done to the end. And with big exhibitions, it's I think it's always the first, because it's usually media works that require a lot of space, and as many tech-savvy artists, I tend to concentrate on technology itself, and does it work, and programming and everything, and then seeing it and realizing too late that it's kind of, but the operation, there is no English expression for this. I mean, there is no direct translation, but we say operation is successful, but the patient is dead. So I learned that for the big works, first exhibition is usually test exhibition, where I learn something, and then second or third exponentially improve, and usually after 3 shows I have the work that then doesn't change in its core. I usually have to change it because the space requirements are different, but that is done in area of calibration, not in area of devising new things, adding, programming additional things. It's the work is finished, and so my new plan for now I'm doing the next big work. We'll see how it goes, but I just talked with the curators recently. It will be in Drugo More in Rijeka. That basically I want to include this fact that the first exhibition is actually like public test of what it is, and that it's not finished work. So instead of being afraid of it and hiding it, make it public, and I mean make it public. The open, make it open to discussion, because it's actually interesting. Process is interesting, and I mean the work comes from the process in my case. So it probably will be something that the audience is interested in. So I cannot say much because I don't know much. It's I have 2-3 more months to finish it. And now you help me with some questions. I did jump from early to the end, but in between it's life and exhibitions and going forward. So technology. My interest, as I said, started early, but I guess so I was into kind of, I could do some mechanics, and but it was not really something too big until I got my first computer. I did have Spectrum in the school, high school, but that's not many things could come out of it. At least I couldn't make them at the time. But when I got my Macintosh in '97, and then very quickly discovered about Macs. It was Max 3.0. I still have that copy of software that I got. It was the whole world opened with the... I already knew, I lived in Amsterdam, I studied there, this School of Sound Engineering, and although I didn't get involved with the scene, which I'm sad because time was there, but I basically, after 2 years of school, I decided to go back, because in Zagreb I had chances to work and exhibit, and in Amsterdam we were also a tight community. It's another story, but anyway, I didn't feel that I can work there. But what I did see there in my 2 years is ton of exhibitions and performances, because I felt that Amsterdam scene is not particularly strong, but everybody come there. It was an important city in Europe, so I saw a lot of things. I learned a lot about what could be done, although I couldn't do it at the moment, but I remember coming to STIME and seeing one not particularly good performance, but they were turning things on and off with computers. So I was like, okay, so I don't have to press buttons on the TV. I can make machine move another machine. So that kind of ideas formed, and then you can program things happening in the real world. So when Mac arrived and Macs, I was, of course, as I was doing a lot of sound there, so MIDI and samplers and all these things were one part of the game, but the other was with Magdalena. I was married to Magdalena for 15 years, and we worked a lot together, and our first project was that we did together was ERC's I Hears. I have to remember the English version. Oko čuje, uho vidi. And it was a project where we wanted the dancer to control light and sound, or video and sound. We had light at the time, so sound and vision with the movement. So after some investigation, a new sensor interface appeared in iCube, in Fusion Systems iCube system. And it was a little box, quite expensive. It was so years before Arduino or anything like that. So basically, you could connect sensors with wires, and you would get MIDI information in the computer in real time. So that was the kind of big. At the time, Magdalena was doing giant LED installations. I think we soldered something about 15,000 LEDs by hand, because we also didn't have printed circuit boards, but we were just connecting wires. So it was one work was like one huge VU meter of 2 meters by half meter, like really monolithic piece of object. And the other was actually modular. It was strips of this size. I don't know, we had 40, some green, some red, and they would light individually, first as a VU meter, and then later we could turn them on individually. So and then we did a couple of performances. We never actually finished the work how we thought it should finish, but we did 3 or 4 iterations, or 5 of the. Actually, each performance was made for the special occasion. So we never repeated the material. Same again. It was always new samples, new setup, new rehearsals, new way of thinking about how it can be done. So it was lots of investigation of how movement translates to something else, and learning that it's not direct connection. Basically, you have to always filter. It's always interpretation. People very often ask me, not very often, but sometimes, like, so what's the image of sound actually, with expectations that there will be one solid way that, like, sound is represented as image? And my answer always, and maybe I'm not right, but my thinking is that it's always interpretation. You have to interpret one data to something else, one world, from one world to the other. And it's actually, that's, I think, where the magic happens, because you decide how you control it all comes back to tools, like how you drive a car. It's not random controls. It's a result of research and errors, and like coming to the way that how can you comfortably drive a vehicle, what you can do, what you expect from the machine, and it applies to all technology. I think that it's this. I got a little bit lost now, but yeah, computers. So it started with Macs. First it was sound, and basically I really very early got interested in controlling things outside of computer, this connection, going in with sensors or whatever, or sound, and then coming out with other machines, or so control, actually using computer as some sort of control center for other things, and that's basically how it started. I got, and then in the following years it was I got interested. I really like TVs as especially my childhood, as like kind of broadcast format, not just as the device that shows some image, but like I liked television. I still like television, and I guess it also has to do with our generation. I'm really into, like, if something is broadcast in real time, that's really kind of, for example, I will watch a sitcom if it's on TV always, but I will never watch it on Netflix, because I the moment that, and if I catch half of the movie on TV, I'm kind of, wow, it's on TV. The same with the radio. I really appreciate the fact that it's going on now. So TVs were one of the objects that I still am really connected to. So CRTs, because also, except Namjoon Pike, when I saw Gary Hill's exhibition in Amsterdam, that was the moment, like, you can take the TV out of the box, the screen, and like connect it with wires. I didn't know how dangerous it is at the time, but so you learn and spy a little bit, learn from other artists. We can call it spying or learning, whatever. And I started modifying TVs. I knew that Pike is doing it with the laser magnets, so that was one direction. And then the other thing that I got interested were moving cameras, so pan-tilt cameras. So first I was doing my own devices, which were clunky, but also lots of errors of this not really perfect mechanism. First I didn't like it, then I realized, like, okay, but this is another layer of certain randomness and machine showing its nature. So I learned to appreciate it more, and also, like, sometimes give it time. So you have the error, then you watch what it does, and maybe it's good. So not every it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's that sort of stuff. But I learned to kind of, because especially with programming, you set yourself for a goal, and then you forget to learn through the process. But like, I want this to, and then, like, when I finally program it, it's like, no, it's not working. So for me now it's important to pay attention during the process to see if something interesting happens. So moving cameras or moving objects. I got interested in video feedback, but not in. Of course, like, camera to TV it's like such a rewarding thing to do, but I didn't do that. I realized that if I have few moving cameras and few projectors, and I connect cameras direct to projectors, so just one-to-one relationship, no switching, no mixing, nothing. And the fact that I can flip images on the projector, so that basically it doesn't have to be the same side, it can flip like a slide on slide projector on 4 times. With that combination and computer-controlled cameras, I realized I am getting multi-mode feedback. So feedback is not just going to one screen, you get fractal shapes, and with zooming in and out, it's like, I still use this technique for bands and for installations, because it's fantastic. And of course, with time, I developed my software for later. I stopped making my own cameras. Now I'm using finished pan-tilt cameras that I control from my own software. And so it became a toolkit that I can, and I really like it because it's scalable and works almost everywhere where you have sufficient darkness. That's the only thing with projection, especially with feedback, because feedback is physical process, and like if there is too much light, you lose. There is nothing. It's just white screens. So yeah, that's. And then later I got really interested in oscilloscopes. So that was the whole from 2012 or something, also developing some software, being member of the scene that was really spectacular at that time. And we actually all of us met online. And then after realizing that there is no single festival or place where we can all meet, with Derek Holzer, we decided to try to make a festival. Then later invited Chris King into the group, and we made a festival. It was biannual. We had 3 editions, 2018, 2020, and 2022, and it was always in Croatia. So I was doing kind of production side of things, and we were an organization, and we were producing together. I mean, curating it together, and it was really, I think, a nice festival. It stopped because it's actually just too much work, especially for me here. And but the good thing is that, except art, in 2000 I started doing working in theater a lot, which is also. That's problem of somebody being a fine artist. I tend to think of theater as a kind of work job, and it's also art. It's just different sort of art. And also the difference is that in fine arts I do just my thing, and in theater it's completely other process, because I like to work for others. I like to collaborate, and then you work for the show. You don't work. You're part of the show, but it's not. I'm most happy in theater when I remove something that I really like from video, for example, if it doesn't fit the show. So before I would, push my ideas and like try to, because I want to show it. Now my thinking is completely different. That I try to adapt and offer, of course, things, and very often it turns out that like in the process, first idea is just like, no, it's not working, let's go further. So and in all this time I did lots of collaborations with other artists, very often doing programming work for them or helping realize their ideas. I did lots of audiovisual collaborations, usually doing the visual part with bands and for example, in that area, live performances, I really use my knowledge of experience of being a musician, and just basically now I just play with buttons and faders, but it's also playing, and it's kind of musical sense of rhythm. And I was a drummer, and also this with cul-de-sac improvisation. So especially, for example, with this feedback setup with cameras, the great thing for me is setup is complicated, but I just need to put it at relatively decent positions. They don't have to be perfect. And then I have my joystick, and then I have no problem doing like 6 hours sets, or if it's VJing or something, and it looks good, changing all the time. So I really like the situations when I make some setup. It's not machine, it's setups. It's different machines, different things connected, and I have comfortable interface to it. So through the computer software and some kind of controller, or maybe just a mouse, and then I can play it comfortably without any stress or Ljubavi. And talking about machines, what I also started doing quite early on, just like, you have machine, video mixer, effect, whatever, and it has some sort. For example, video mixers are a good example for this. That is Panasonic MX55. It's a gray box and it has this digital interface, so it doesn't have lots of faders, and you have to kind of menu dive, and you need the preview screen. But it has got input in the back that has serial control. So I learned first I learned MIDI, then I realized like, so it's just usually a list of numbers, and I'm not that good in math, but I get through it. And basically then this unusable mixer for VJing becomes something completely else. The good example is, for example, Vibes, which are really, boring, especially today, especially these mixers. But one of the problems is that you have a fader, so you can just go continuously up and down, back and forward, but you cannot jump. With software control, most simple example is just randomize the position, and then it becomes completely different look and behaves differently. So all of a sudden, this whole machine can do crazy things like turn on 50 things at one time, and it becomes completely different instrument. So I made lots of this, first to control pan tilt cameras, then video mixers, slide projectors. I did lots of work with Kodak slide projectors. So then when I realized, I can fade them and go to individual slide number, that's also like this completely crazy level of. So a lot of my work comes from this, that I like to. It's usually older devices because like they're cheaper, but also with it's also a passion, and I tend to, although I'm not doing much of music anymore, I tend to buy older equipment, and some of it is like almost unusable. Or some is maybe new but has some hidden parameters. Then my obsession is to connect it to computer and get through all these settings and find out things that are maybe not possible to do on the machine itself, but you can do it through remote control. But then comes the bit sad part that after sorting this out, I kind of then it sits on the shelf for quite a while. I guess that comes with age. Also, when I was younger, I would kind of. There were less things, and like I would stick to it more. Now struggle is on maybe different place. Now I have too many things, and too many projects that kind of you have to also make them. It's not enough just to that. I think that's kind of tech artist hoarder. One of the problems is that there is so many ideas, because each device or sensor, something like, I could do this, but then you have to do it. And so one of the obsession is control of, through control of devices of one sort or the other, to get different kind of results that you could then, what you could do with your hands and with how they were intended to use. I think I missed something. And then the other obsession is displays. So first was TVs. I also did my a very good colleague and friend, Tesla is his nickname. He's old, he's older than me, but he's old school Yugoslavian technicians, socialist technicians, self-taught, which means basically that, like, you know, if he can take anything, or like, and you know, we didn't have enough things, so people were willing to repurpose them. So he likes funny ideas, and so I came to him with the wish to produce. I really liked Namjoon Pike's vobulators, but I didn't like that they're big. I wanted to make exhibitions, so I asked him if we could put it in a small TV. And so he developed a small vobulator, which is of this size, and it's portable. It's like amplifiers built in, so you need this. We also added some additional functions like brightness and contrast control and XY control for like simplified oscilloscope. So machine could actually do much more than than the original wobulator, and also because it was controlled from max, then because traditionally people are using oscillators, and so you can get really great things, but it's clunky. Cannot do fast changes. You are limited to amounts of modulation, and with this Max software, it became kind of well-behaved instrument that you can move from one shape to the other and really like another level of control. So TVs, wobulators, then oscilloscopes came, and that whole world of how to draw. I did play a little bit with lasers, but although I like how it looks, it didn't catch on with me. Oscilloscope work I still do, and so yeah, it's a combination of new technology, new possibilities, and really old machines, which again, because of their analog nature, some digital analog nature, give different results. Although for example, for theater work, I rarely use analog machines. I use my computer, video editing apps. Resolume is fantastic software. I have a bit of untypical software collection. I don't work with Adobe package because I find that I would just lose too much time in After Effects, and as I'm not working for broadcast, for example, Apple's Motion is just faster. And time in my case, like working in theater, or another source of money to live from is occasional corporate events or museum installations for not my work, but like history museum or any other. There the optimized workflow is crucial, and so yeah, I'm proud of my optimized workflow. What I want to say is that a lot of my work is really digital. Although with projection and theater work, as I don't come from film or broadcast, I actually despise the screen. Not despise. I don't despise. I like cinema, I like TV, but I cannot work for the screen. It either has to be projected onto something or it's mapped. Although video mapping is a simple tool is another thing than 3D video mapping with buildings collapsing. I don't really do this sort of thing, but I often put video on specific positions on stage, which is technically mapping, but visually it doesn't have much to do with it. And in theater also it's a lot of interaction with actors. What I really like is to try to take as much stress from actors and technicians and everybody working, so basically making the show that is smooth and easy to control, that doesn't require too many tunings, and so the theater process is nice because it's creative, but it's also utilitarian in a way that you kind of it should not be a mess. Exhibition can be a mess. Show for theater that is supposed to play, I don't know, 20, 50, 100 times needs to be optimized and like run smooth, and instruction should be easy, and that's one of the things that I like. Also making it easy for tech stuff, because very often I started as technician also in theater, and I have great respect for technicians and people who help us do the works in museums, in theater, in live setups, in corporate events or whatever, because we work together in this, so we have always good relationship.